In today's session, we're going to be looking over some of the things that we learned in Term 1, specifically relating to simplification and factorization for grade 10 students. So let's have a look at the first one. So they're asking us to simplify, and they give us something outside a bracket and then three things inside of the bracket. This means I have to go and distribute this in. Notice how I was careful with the signs. I made sure that the negative multiplied in with each of the terms, and that I made sure that all the A's exponents added together and all the B's exponents added together. In the next step, I can go and see if any of these are like terms. There are no like terms because here it's A squared and B, here it's A squared, B squared, and here it's A, B squared. So this will then be my final answer. In the next one, we can see it's a small bracket and a big bracket. So this automatically makes me think of SOAP. So that is your quadratic factorization. So if I have a look, this is that number to the power of 2, and this is that number to the power of 2, and the middle term is those two multiplied together. So therefore, this is SOAP. All I'm going to do then is I'm going to take the ones that are in the small bracket and I'm going to put them to the power of 3 and keep the sign the same. And there it's factorized. In the next one, they're showing us that this needs to be written out twice. I can't just bring that 2 in because there's more than one term. What I also like to do is I like to write it as a fraction, because the 3 over x is a fraction. So I know when I go and distribute it in, it's going to be a lot easier to do that if everything's already in a fraction form. So if I multiply the first term with the first term in that bracket, I'm left with 4x squared over 1. If I multiply that side, I get negative 6x over x. I'm going to simplify that in a second. If I multiply this one this side, I get negative 6x over x. And if I multiply it over there, I get plus 9 over x squared. Because remember, when I multiply fractions, I always multiply the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom. So that's how I got the answer that I have over here. These two are like terms, so I'm going to add them. But first I see that those two the x's can actually cancel each other out. So I'm left with 4x squared minus 12 plus 9x to the power of 2. You have to go look at your mark allocation. If this is a 4-mark question, you would then have to go a step further and get an LCD. But in this case, we are going to leave our answer as that. In the next one, we've got fractions that need to be minused from each other, subtracted from each other. This is problematic because they're not very simple to go and minus from each other, because we need to get an LCD. And my LCD at this point is completely impossible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and factorize each of the parts of the fraction that I can factorize, and then I'm going to see what I'm left with. Here at the bottom we've got SOAP. So remember, we always start with our brackets first, small bracket, big bracket, then we look at the sign, it's negative, so that's where the SOAP comes in. Same, opposite, always positive. Then I'm going to get the cube root of x, the cube root of 1, then I'm going to put them to the power of 2, and then I'm going to multiply the ones in the middle to be left with that. This cannot be factorized any further, so it will stay like that. Right, so now if I go have a look, it's a lot simpler to get an LCD, because my LCD is going to be the following. Now I can just go and multiply each of the equations with the part that they're missing for the LCD. And then I can just simplify from there. I'm not going to write my LCD out now. I'm just going to write, you're supposed to, but I'm just going to show that it's the LCD. Then I can go and simplify from there. and then I'll write my LCD again. I can't simplify this any further, so that therefore will be my final answer. If we have a look at this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my bracket and I'm going to distribute this in over there, although I can see they are the same sign, so I don't have to get the middle term because they'll cancel each other out. So I'm left with p squared minus 49. I prefer to do the brackets first. Some people don't, but it just makes more sense to me. So first simplify the brackets and then multiply the coefficient in. And there's my answer. Let's go have a look at this one. So this is a multiplication with fractions. So with these, I like to simplify as much as possible. So I'm going to factorize out a 3 at the top. This is difference of squares. So I can go and write my plus and my minus. I can get the square of the first term and the square of the second term, and then just repeat it over here. Obviously, one is a plus, one is a minus. Then over here, I've got a trinomial that I can factorize. A lot of kids get confused when there's an extra term there. Don't let it confuse you. You're just going to make sure that there's a b at the end of whatever your second thing is. Also, if you have a white calculator, it's a fantastic time to get one if you don't have one, because you can go and factorize any trinomial with a white calculator. You just go to mode, then you press 5, then you press 3, and then you just go put your coefficients in. If not, then you will be factorizing like I do. So we're going to go have a look at all the factors of 6. So it's 6 times 1 and 3 times 2. If I have a look at the sign here, this one's negative, that one's positive. So it cannot be 3 and 2, because one is going to have to be positive and one is going to have to be negative. So it can't be 3 and 2, because if I add them together, I get 5. So what we're going to look at over here is if I say 6 minus 1, I end up with 5. Therefore, this is the correct combination. So it will be now we can go and see what we can cancel out. So we can cancel this one with that one. We are allowed to cancel now because it's a multiplication sum. That one can cancel with that one. So my final answer is the 3 that's left over there. And that's the answer for that one. Now we get to factorization. So if we have a look at the first one, the most important thing with factorization is to firstly determine what kind of factorization are we going to be doing here. We can't do SOAP because they're not all cubic numbers. It's not difference of squares. But what I can see is that this and this are identical. So what I'm going to rather use is grouping. I'm just going to go draw in a 1 over there for myself so that I don't forget it. So remember, grouping says I can go and write down the bracket one time, open another bracket, and then all the coefficients that were in front of the bracket can then be placed inside a different bracket. Right. If we have a look at number B, this one doesn't seem very obvious as to what we're going to be doing, but what I recommend is let's not work with mixed numbers. Let's go and write this as improper fraction. And then I'm still not entirely sure what to do after here, so let's go and get an LCD. Now it's very simple. It is just difference of squares. The other way you could have done it is you could have taken out a 1 over 3. Your answer would have been exactly the same. Right, then with number C, I see over here, these two are cubic numbers, so I think I might want to put them together, and it looks like there is a common factor over there. It's not always, sometimes you have to do these things twice to see which one to actually use, but let's play around with what we have at the moment. So let's take a y out of the first one, so then we've got x plus 2 left over there. Fantastic. With the next one, the SOAP one, I'm going to take out a negative because it's just going to make more sense to me. So this is obviously a SOAP one there, so I can go and write my small bracket, then my big bracket. We've got x plus 2 over here, then we've got x squared minus 2x plus 4, because remember it's always same, opposite, always positive. So there we have that. Now I can see I've got these two brackets are exactly the same, so I can go and write that down once. Then remember the rule says everything else that's not identical will go in its own little bracket. And there I'm done. The last one is the difference of squares, nice and simple. However, I can see that 4 can go into both of those. So it is recommended that I rather take out a 4 and work with the numbers in their simplified forms. And there it's done. I really hope that helped. Good luck with the studying.